Again, guys. Now today we are going to look at Excel and maybe get to understand some few basics of Excel. So when you first open Excel, you might see something like this. Here we have a blank workbook, and then we also have some few templates. Actually, there are many, depending on what you want to do. You see, there's even a calendar here. There's a daily schedule, weekly assignment schedule. These are pre-designed templates, and again you can also make use of the online tool for any particular template you want. Let's say you want a report, you can search here for a report, and that's why if you're connected to the internet, you see having sample reports that you can actually make use of, right? But because we're beginning, we can first start to understand what's we can. So let's quickly go and open the blank book. Yeah, just double click and open the blank book. Yeah, so as you can see, uh, yep, now I have everything here. Right, so we can start with here we have tabs. We have Excel tabs, we have the formulas, data, review, view, all these tabs. And then you realize when we have the home tab, it's kind of grouped in this ribbon. This is a ribbon. If you select a tab, these are ribbons. Page layout, this is a ribbon. Now if you go to the home tab, you also realize these are kind of grouped. Here you also have this group, another group here, which actually each group performs certain set of functions. Yeah, and a group there. Now in Excel cells, we have let me put like that. Yeah, in Excels we have rows and column. Like if you can see, this is the one I've selected. This is a row, this is a row, and this is a column. This is a column, and this particular box here, any of the box, this is a cell. So you realize if you click on any cell, actually it has a name. So if you click on this cell, there's a way of naming cells in Excel. If you look, it's on column B, and let's say this row 3. So this is cell B3. If you go here, it is C5, E4, and so on. Now we also have a selection. If you, let's say, do a selection like this, from just select more than one cell, a couple of cells, this is called arrange. And there's also a way to name a range. And to name a range, you just look at the first cell, which is D3, and the last cell, which is I9. And if you were to name that range, it will be D3 through I9. And to represent it, can represent it like D3 through I9. This is actually how you represent a range. So take note of these tiny assumptions here, because as we continue and throughout the course, you realize they're important when you start dealing with formulas. Now let's go on and add some few data here and see how we can maybe do one or two. Let's say we want to create an inventory, maybe a movie inventory. You can write the inventory name, heading. The heading can be, let's say, my movie inventory. And there's one thing you also need to know. Whenever you click enter in Excel, it takes you down to the next cell below. That's before you do some changes. And there's something here you need to realize. This title, my movie inventory, it's stored in cell A1, and as you can see, it kinda tends to have yes, if I just bring it closer, you can see that it kinda looks like it has gone through some bits of the cell B1, but that is just an assumption because it's still stored in A1. So if you write something here, you see we have it's still stored here. So let's on and go and do that now. My movie inventory, we can say we need some headings. We need the title, we need the movie title, maybe we need the year, maybe we need the maybe uh, age restrictions, something like that. Yeah. And what can we do? Maybe type, movie type. Yeah. So this some of maybe the basic uh, just a basic inventory. Now we do want to work. You need to start to adapt a way of dealing with Excel, because if you look at the like this cell C2, you cannot clearly see everything inside. So whenever you work with Excel, it's always a good culture to ensure you have smart work. So to start with A1, to ensure that we have something which is good. So whenever you put your cursor in between A from one column to another until it changes like a positive sign, you can double click. You see what has happened is it has actually put the entire content of the cells, the cell A1 in that particular cell. So nothing now is crossing over to the cell B1. We can also do the same in column C to ensure that we have everything there, just like that. And then we can say movie title. I can start with the famous Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, like that. Now, which year was Game of Thrones? Well, I'm not sure, but I can just put a random year, 2010. Age restrictions, let me say 18. And type historical, something like that. Historical, yeah. So I can also put another movie here. Whatever movie you can put there, something like Empire. Empire, can save in 2016. Age restrictions, I can say maybe 16. Not sure about that. And I don't know the type, but I can say, let me call it drama, just for illustration purposes. Now, there's something you need to realize again. For example, you've misspelled, or there's an error with the, you want to change this. So whenever you just click there are two things. You are either inside the cell or outside the cell. Like right now, we just selected the cell A4. We are just outside the cell. Now we want to go inside the cell to edit, because if you are outside the cell and we start writing a bunch of things, it deletes everything that was in that cell. So the best way to do that is to double click and ensure you have inside the cell. That is when you can make corrections. And again, if we kind of look at another method of doing that, you can just select the cell you want to edit, which is A1, I mean A4, and then here on top here, this is the formula bar. You see, it actually brings the content of the selected cell. You can click there once and make the edits. You see, it is real time. Whenever you make edits there, they just populate in the cell, and then you press enter and everything like that. So you can add a bunch of movies, depending on your cell. This is just a sample data. Now let's try and make this work smart, because whenever you are working on an Excel document, you want the final outlook to be representable. So the first thing to do that, we can just go back to the title and hold down the shift key and select on your right until the end of the last column. Then there's something here we want to do. I'm gonna come here and if you look at this group, there is the merge and center, the merge across, the merge cells, and the unmerged cells. So what we want to do is to merge all these cells from A1 to D1 and center it. So what you have realized is that now we no longer have individual cells. So from A1 to D1, we have merged it to hold just one particular content of a cell. And then we can come here and select from A2 to AD. And another easier way to select is that you can just place your select A2 and then hold down shift and then again select up to D2, that row. Then we can work command. So let's say we want to make it bold and maybe italic. Can also make, and there's a bunch of buttons here you can do. You can either use bold, italic, underline. There's also the underline if you want to do to just show it is the title. And then on the sub particulars of the title, you can go ahead and select again now from A3, hold down shift and go all the way to D4, the last entry on that particular sheet. Here you can actually decide to make it a bit smaller than the titles. Yes, and you can also, if you look at here, you can choose, these are colors. You see what they do? And then now if you bring it back to black, and then this is the background, yeah, but we don't want to start designing with some colors. Yeah, no, we're still halfway. We still want to make this a kind of a representable report, just as a basic. You can come maybe and select from there to, let's say, go a bit outside the content and select maybe from A1 through E8 for that particular range. And then we can go here on this particular group, still under the home, and then here we have borders, and we want to ensure that we do not have borders. But again, you realize we still have that content which is selected. We can go ahead and do what we call in the view. Once you go to the view tab, and when you look at the ribbons, these are grid lines. They might look like borders, but they are grid lines. So if I untick that selection, you see I've actually lost the grid lines. So if I tick back, I brought it back. If I tick up, untick up. So if you see like this, we now have a sheet that is blank, and we don't know where the borders are. So we can go and select again from A2 all the way to D4, and then go back to the home tab and put on some borders. So let me say we need all borders. Yeah, now we have an inventory movie here, just a simple inventory. You can decide to work around this data. You can decide to remove You say you don't want no borders, see, then you can decide again to come back and say you only need the outside thick borders, like that. Yeah, and now we might decide maybe we want to represent this information